In this podcast episode, Michael Moynihan discusses the current political landscape in the United States, particularly focusing on the upcoming election and the candidates involved. The conversation delves into various subjects, including the implications of the election, the candidates' qualifications, and the broader societal issues at play. Moynihan begins by emphasizing the significance of the upcoming election, describing it as potentially the most important in American history. He reflects on the rhetoric surrounding elections, noting that every election cycle is touted as crucial, yet this time feels different. The stakes are framed as a battle between democracy and authoritarianism, a narrative that has gained traction since the 2016 election. Moynihan expresses concern over the implications of this framing, suggesting that it undermines the resilience of American institutions and the electorate's ability to make informed choices. He argues that the fear of losing democracy is being weaponized by political factions, particularly the Democrats, to rally support. This tactic, he believes, can be counterproductive, as it may alienate voters who feel their concerns are being dismissed. Moynihan posits that the American political system is robust enough to withstand challenges, and the narrative of impending doom may reflect a lack of faith in the electorate rather than a genuine threat to democracy. The discussion shifts to the candidates themselves, with Moynihan offering a critical analysis of both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. He acknowledges Trump's controversial nature, particularly his temperament and rhetoric, which some view as authoritarian. However, he also points out that Trump's presidency was marked by significant achievements, particularly in foreign policy and economic matters. Moynihan argues that Trump's approach, while often brash, resonated with many working-class Americans who felt overlooked by traditional political elites. In contrast, Moynihan critiques Kamala Harris's qualifications and effectiveness as a candidate. He highlights her struggles to articulate coherent policies and her tendency to rely on identity politics rather than substantive debate. Moynihan suggests that Harris's rise within the Democratic Party reflects a broader trend of prioritizing identity over capability, which could have long-term implications for the party's credibility and effectiveness. Moynihan delves into the impact of identity politics on the current political climate, arguing that it has created divisions within the electorate. He notes that the Democratic Party's focus on identity has alienated many working-class voters, particularly those who feel their concerns about immigration and economic stability are being ignored. This shift has led to a growing discontent among voters who once aligned with the party but now feel marginalized. He emphasizes that the Democratic Party's reliance on identity politics may ultimately backfire, as it fails to address the fundamental issues facing many Americans. Moynihan argues that a more inclusive approach, one that prioritizes economic concerns over identity, could help bridge the gap between different voter demographics and restore faith in the political process. A significant portion of the conversation centers on the working class and their evolving relationship with the political landscape. Moynihan highlights the shift from a focus on the middle class to a more pronounced emphasis on the working class, particularly in the context of Trump's appeal. He argues that Trump's messaging around globalization and economic opportunity resonated with voters who felt left behind by traditional political narratives. Moynihan also discusses the perception of economic inequality and the frustrations of working-class Americans who see immigrants receiving benefits while they struggle to make ends meet. This sentiment, he argues, is not just about economics, but also about a sense of fairness and recognition. The disconnect between the political elite and the working class has created a fertile ground for populist sentiments, which both parties must address to remain relevant. The role of media in shaping public perception and political discourse is another critical topic in the podcast. Moynihan discusses how mainstream media often perpetuates narratives that align with specific political agendas, leading to a polarized electorate. He argues that this polarization is exacerbated by social media algorithms that create echo chambers, making it difficult for individuals to engage with differing viewpoints. Moynihan expresses concern over the media's responsibility in reporting on significant events such as the January 6th Capitol riot. He critiques the sensationalism surrounding the event and the subsequent framing of Trump supporters as extremists. This portrayal, he argues, not only misrepresents the complexity of the situation, but also alienates a substantial portion of the electorate who feel their voices are being marginalized. The conversation naturally transitions to the events of January 6th, with Moynihan offering a nuanced perspective on the incident. He acknowledges the seriousness of the riot, but challenges the characterization of it as an armed insurrection. Moynihan argues that while the actions of those involved were reprehensible, the narrative surrounding the event has been manipulated for political gain. He emphasizes the importance of distinguishing between the actions of individuals and the broader political context that led to such unrest. Moynihan suggests that the focus on January 6th should not overshadow the underlying issues that prompted many Americans to feel disenfranchised and angry. By framing the event solely as a failure of democracy, he believes that the political establishment risks ignoring the legitimate grievances of a significant portion of the population. Moynihan reflects on the future of the Democratic Party, particularly in light of Harris's candidacy. He argues that her selection as a vice presidential candidate may hinder the party's ability to present strong, capable female candidates in the future. The perception that Harris's rise is primarily due to identity politics rather than merit could reinforce negative stereotypes about women's capabilities in leadership roles. He warns that this could have long-term implications for the party's credibility and its ability to attract diverse candidates who can genuinely connect with voters. Moynihan suggests that the Democratic Party must reevaluate its approach to candidate selection and prioritize competence over identity to regain the trust of the electorate. The discussion also touches on the potential for third-party candidates to disrupt the traditional two-party system. Moynihan argues that voting for a third-party candidate can serve as a form of protest against the current political landscape. He believes that expressing dissatisfaction with the available options is a valid choice for voters who feel unrepresented by the major parties. While he acknowledges that third-party candidates may not win, he emphasizes the importance of signaling to the political establishment that voters demand better options. Moynihan suggests that a strong third-party presence could encourage the major parties to address the concerns of their constituents more seriously. Throughout the podcast, Moynihan underscores the importance of open and honest political discourse. He argues that the current political climate is characterized by a lack of genuine conversation, with many individuals afraid to express their views for fear of backlash. This environment stifles meaningful dialogue and prevents the electorate from engaging with complex issues. Moynihan advocates for a return to civil discourse, where individuals can discuss their differences without resorting to personal attacks or labeling. He believes that fostering an environment of respect and understanding is crucial for rebuilding trust in the political process and encouraging greater participation from all segments of society. As the conversation progresses, Moynihan touches on the global implications of the upcoming election. He argues that the outcome will significantly impact America's standing in the world, particularly concerning its relationships with countries like China and Russia. Moynihan suggests that Trump's approach to foreign policy, characterized by a willingness to confront adversaries, may resonate with voters who prioritize national security. In contrast, he expresses concern that Harris's more diplomatic approach may not adequately address the challenges posed by authoritarian regimes. Moynihan believes that the election's outcome will shape not only domestic policy, but also the United States' role on the global stage, making it imperative for voters to consider the broader implications of their choices. Finally, Moynihan emphasizes the need for political accountability, particularly among elected officials. He argues that both parties must be held responsible for their actions and decisions, as the current political climate often allows politicians to evade scrutiny. Moynihan believes that fostering a culture of accountability is essential for restoring trust in the political system and ensuring that elected officials prioritize the needs of their constituents.